Hey, it's me, Nalthazar, and welcome to another video. In this one, we're going to be taking a look at a nifty little combo that I found that uses Yidaro Wandering Monster. So, I am massively in love with turtles and dinosaurs. I love both of them. This thing is somewhat hideous looking, as both turtles and dinosaurs go, but nonetheless, I love them. And so I took an extra look at Yidaro, and there was something that stood out to me, like, pretty much immediately when I saw the card. So, it's an 8/8 for 20. It has cycling. That's this funky little thing on the upper left. It is a legendary creature, has haste and trample. And when you cycle this card, reduce the cost of each card in your hand named Yidaro, Wandering Monster, by 5. Then each card named Yidaro, Wandering Monster in your hand gets +2/+2. So this made me think, like, straight out the bat. All right, so Yidaro is legendary. So what if I had a way to make it so that Yidaro, upon cycling, went straight to the graveyard instead of to exile? So Riel, who is going to make it so that when you cycle another card, move that card to your graveyard instead and draw a second card. And then, of course, Kethis. So Kethis says when you exile a legendary card from your hand, return the first other legendary card from your graveyard to your hand. It gains half of its mana. Now, this made me immediately think, okay, well, if I've got Yidaro in my hand and I cycle it and Riel makes it go to the graveyard, will that count as exiling a legendary card from my hand for Kethis, bringing back the first legendary card from my graveyard with half of its mana? The simple answer is yes, which means that if we can stack some Yidaros in our graveyard, then we can infinitely cycle Yidaros, getting as many, up to 6 copies of Yidaro back in our hand, and then just freely cycle the Yidaro that we get every time we fetch them. And as we weed out the Riels and Kethises, right, because we're going to be getting some of those back because they're legendary, and we exile them from our hand, we're not going to get them back because they're going straight to exile instead of the graveyard, because Riel, once in play, is only going to make it so that when we cycle another card, that card goes to the graveyard instead. So you can do this with Experimental Frenzy, I believe, but it's not the same. It makes it take a lot longer. Now, this deck that I'm using here is the deck that I'm using in the video. It definitely is not the optimal choice for playing this out, but I did a lot of testing with it, and I really liked the footage from this one. So I'm running Gather the Pack. Gather the Pack is going to dump creatures in my graveyard, and it's going to fetch creatures into my hand. Remember, we need to have all 3 creatures down on the battlefield in order for this to work. I've then got Quasi-Duplicate, because that's going to make extra copies of Yidaro, Stolen Identity, because that's going to get me extra copies of Yidaro, and Mythos of Aluna, because that's going to get me extra copies of Yidaro. Death Sprout is going to be our removal spell. And yeah, so that's really the deck in a nutshell. Let's go ahead and see it in action, and I'll explain more with the gameplay. Alrighty, so this is going to be a little bit of a longer match. It's a long match just because the Yidaro loop takes a long time once you get it going. Now, it's really important that you get all the different pieces for this to work. And so you'll see that I'm going to be playing this Brokon deck in a little bit of a funky way, I guess. But it's just me trying to get all the different little bits and pieces going. So I've got Castle Vantress and Mystic Sanctuary in the starting hand. That's great because that means that we're going to get gem conversion. We've got Riel over here. And I've been getting a lot of requests to see Riel in a video, so here you guys get to see Riel. And so we're going to drop Riel down. We're really not using Riel for her ability to get more powerful by having spells in the graveyard. That's definitely not the goal at all here. And then we actually go ahead and pull a Kethis, which is fantastic, which means that we've now got all 3 pieces of the puzzle together in our hand. We now just need a way to get some critters in the graveyard. So you're going to see that I'm going to go ahead and cycle my Yidaro there. That's because with Riel down, the Yidaro goes to the graveyard. And because I have a Kethis, the Kethis is actually going to be enabling me to get the Yidaro back from the graveyard if I just exile another legendary creature from my hand. And I do have another legendary creature from my hand right now, which is a Yidaro again. So I can just repeat cycle this Yidaro, draw some cards, and get more Yidaros back. Or was that, did it give me my Yidaro back? It gave me my Yidaro back. Okay, no, it gave me Yidaro back. The game is being funky. It should not have given me that Yidaro back. That Yidaro was in my graveyard. Sorry for that noise. I just bumped my table. Smooth moves, X-Lax. So now at this point, I'm just going to go ahead and start charging up some of the other things in my hand that are going to copy stuff. Being up against a Calamity deck, it's honestly a little bit scary just because of how incredibly strong Calamity is and how quickly she can just go straight from like 0 to you've got no face. You're getting completely wrecked. Mythos of Aluna definitely is not my favorite card in the deck. And here you're going to actually see that because we have a Yidaro in the graveyard. That's where this Yidaro comes back into my hand. You'll see that it got the boost. It's now a 10-10. I'm going to throw away that Yidaro. And now I'm drawing up. I've got another Yidaro. Now, what I could have done here is I could have now just infinitely cycled, right? I could have just gone for the, I could toss everything from my hand. I've got a Yidaro there. I've only got Yidaro in my graveyard. So I can just go ahead and start my infinite loop here. I can go ahead and toss the Mythos if I want. All the Yidaros that I'm going to be drawing are just going to have like way too much mana to be allowed. So I can just do this. But remember that cycling all of these takes quite a bit of time. Now you'll see that I didn't get anything back for that one, and that's because you need to have a Yidaro in the graveyard when you cycle. So if I cycle this Yidaro here from my hand, you'll see that I'm going to get the other Yidaro back from the graveyard. Now I've got a whole bunch of other stuff in my hand. At this stage, this was actually pretty early on in my testing, so I was kind of confused why I didn't get Yidaro back there. But I know now, and I can very comfortably tell you guys that I did not get Yidaro back there just because I only had one Yidaro in my graveyard. And so there, the Mythos is kind of cool because it's going to make it so that we get the Yidaro copy right there. But the copy is disabled. It doesn't get played. And so here I've got Brocon's third ability. I've got 2 Yidaros in hand, which means that if I use Brocon's third here, it's going to go ahead and give me 3 Yidaros, which is fantastic because that's all the cycling that I need to make this work. Now, really, what I should be doing is I should be getting rid of the Mythos from my hand. I've got that Gather the Pack there, but honestly, I don't need it at this stage. I've got all these big, beautiful turtles in my hand. You'll see that they're going to start boosting up. And as I learn, you can just go ahead and start cycling from the bottom. You don't need to cycle from the top every time. Like I keep dragging it to the top, cycling and going, but they're getting that 5 mana reduction every time we cycle. So they actually take care of their own cycling costs by themselves, which is beautiful. So we got Big Ugly up there at 14 power. And so we're going to go ahead, cycle away. It's going to give us yet another Yidaro to the hand. That Kethis is fantastic because as we toss these things, the Kethis can now be exiled from hand to give us another Yidaro. So cycling that Yidaro is giving us a Yidaro. And this is the combo in a nutshell, right? You're seeing it going. Really all you need is one Yidaro in the graveyard and one Yidaro in hand. And then you can just cycle all of your Yidaros to an infinite level of power, right? I mean, if you decide to use this to break the power cap, then you've got some kind of like crazy wish for carpal tunnel or something for cycling. I mean, for some of you guys, this might bring back some really nasty cycling flashbacks from back in the glory days of New Perspectives and Drakehaven. Although this time, instead of getting a bunch of wee little drakes, we're getting wee big turtles that are going to be able to one-shot Calamity over here. So, haha, forget you, Calamity, you evil planeswalker that's really strong. So, yeah, we're going to go ahead, get rid of that, and you'll see, you can't see it, I guess, because it's me in my head. I'm actually counting out, like, what's the power of all my Yidaros here? Is Calamity able to be killed yet? So here I'm looking at Calamity's health. I'm counting out. I've got 20, 40, 60, 70. 20, 40, 60, 72 in my hand right now. I had 80, I had 92. So I've actually got enough power here. If I just get one more Yidaro, right? This is 50, 60, 70, 80. I've got to keep cycling a little bit more. Oh well. When I had the 4 though, I think I actually had enough to put Calamity 6 feet under, right? So we've got 52 and 16, that's 68. So this little dude is going to make it so that really we just need to get one more legendary card. Nylea, fortunately for us, is legendary. So when we cycle Nylea, it's actually going to get us a Yidaro also, because anytime we get rid of a legendary, it brings back a legendary from the graveyard. So legendary supports absolutely work here. You're going to see I get rid of Nylea and boom, we get a Yidaro for it. And now at this stage, because the Yidaros have haste, I've got 78 power of Yidaro in my hand, but I'm getting greedy. I'm sorry. I know. Don't be greedy, Nalthazar. It's bad. Calamity was dead there. There was a part of me in this game that was thinking, you know, it would be really awesome. Let's try and get these Yidaros into the hundreds. Let's just make like hundreds of power of Yidaro. And then I lost my will. So give this a shot. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I'll see you guys in the next one.